find a way.
Blake Collins, man, I'm so glad you're here because you're a guy I've always wanted to sit down with and have a beer with. And I'll tell you why. Like, you've created this life that just looks from the outside to be like this really cool life.
Oh, man. Thank you.
Like, you've gotten skilled at something that you're really good at, like a skilled artisan with your jewelry business and being a bench jeweler, like just artisan kind of level stuff. And then you've got this passion of music that you've got on the side that seems like this is this thing that's really important to you. And you managed to do them both. And in on State Street of Bristol, your own building, it's like, it just seems like the American dream.
Wow, man. That's really kind of you to say that. Yeah, I mean, I guess I maybe should pinch myself every once in a while. I do. I mean, I count my blessings, man. I'm very, very fortunate.
Well, how did it, I want to go back to the beginning. Like, you're a young kid. You probably this probably wasn't your dream when you were a little kid, right? Like, take us back to the young Blake Collins. Like, what did you want to do in the beginning?
Oh, man. Young Blake Collins. You know, young Blake Collins probably wanted to be like a pro skateboarder or something like that, you know?
Yeah.
But, you know, when I saw that not really panning out, music has always been a constant. My dad was a great musician, and it was always in the house. And I always had my own love for music. But, you know, I guess something I definitely took for granted in my earlier years was the fact that I had this, you know, world-class musician who was making music around me all the time. And so just by osmosis, I was soaking a lot of that in and not even realizing it probably.
So before
I started to play even.
Yeah.
You know?
So your house music was a part of your family culture?
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you remember that from the beginning?
Yeah, I've got some pretty early memories of like listening to my dad play.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
What did he play?
He was primarily a guitar player, but he was also a really great fiddle player too.
Wow.
But he favored the guitar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did you love music from an early age, or did it just come to you later?
I did. I always really just loved music. It's funny. My granny, my dad's mom, she showed me this little note that she wrote of a quote that I said when I was probably like 5 years old. And this was not that long ago that she brought this up. She's no longer with us, but it was probably, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago. She said, you know, she had this little notebook of stuff, little notes that she had kept over the years that she broke out. And she had written this quote down. It said something to the effect of, "I love country music, but I really love Huey Lewis."
Huey Lewis.
So, like, you know, I loved the traditional music that was happening around the house, but I was for sure drawn to rock and roll and the pop music that was going on at the time too.
That's not who I expected to be your inspiration.
Oh yeah, man, Huey Lewis.
Huey Lewis and the News. Used to get the tape, the Columbia, dating myself, but we listened to it on tapes, you know, and you order off and get 12 of them free. And Huey,
you tape the penny to the thing and send it in.
Columbia House would send you.
I did that.
It'd send you 12 tapes, and then you'd time it and you'd renew your thing exactly a year later, so you get 12 new ones.
Yeah, man.
Huey Lewis was one of mine.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
Cheers,
yeah.
Huey.
But when you've got that music gene, is it just like it's there? Like you can't keep that thing hidden. Like it's just part of who you are.
I mean, I guess it can grow into that over time for sure. I guess, you know, it is something that's like sort of trying to, it's fighting to get out.
Yeah.
Yeah. It'll find a way.
Yeah.
And, I don't know. Yeah, just that creativity that's trying to manifest. And music was the channel, you know.
So what was the first instrument that you picked up when you were?
First instrument that I decided that I wanted to learn to play was the banjo. My interest in the banjo honestly didn't last that long. It was kind of a short fling with the banjo, but I was so inspired by one of my dad's good friends, wonderful human being, and incredible musician, Ted Francisco. I don't know if you knew
Hmm.
Ted. He was from Bristol. He lived
Yeah.
here in Bristol.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and he
That
taught,
family.
yeah,
Yeah.
he taught lessons at JJ's House of Music
Okay.
and
Yeah.
probably, other places too. But when Ted would come over and jam with Dad, that was some of my favorite, like, intimate musical exposure
Hmm.
that I can recall. I was always just so inspired by his playing. He had this real progressive sort of like Bela Fleck
Mm-hmm.
style, and
Mm-hmm.
he was such a cool guy too. I just, everything about Ted was just
Right.
awesome. So I wanted to be like him. So I took some lessons from him, and I played with the banjo some. The banjos are big and they're heavy, and I didn't really have a nice banjo. I had a loaner, but we had guitars in the house. So at some point, I just became more interested in the guitar, and
Hmm. Yeah. It's I'm just so envious of people with that musical gene. If you don't have it, you just can't. You can't learn it. My grandmother played the piano and organ by ear. My two uncles were both lead singers in bands. And then there was my dad who didn't get any of it. And he passed down his nothing his nothing music gene to me. And I've always wanted it. Like I wish I had that talent, but man, if you're not born with it, don't have it. So you picked up the guitar, guitar early. You're
pretty early.
playing Huey Lewis.
Yeah.
You mentioned Bela Fleck. It was country. You were here in Bristol, so was country the big influence?
I would say probably not, honestly. Not at that point. I mean, man, I was hearing everything. But I think what I was probably most interested in at the time was, like, Nirvana,
Oh yeah.
and I went through a punk rock stage where I was listening to some pretty heavy stuff, but as a family we would attend pretty and fairly annually, like most years we would go to the Galax Fiddlers Convention.
Mm.
So I was getting a pretty consistent dose of that,
Mm-hmm.
along with, whatever I was into
Mm-hmm.
personally at the time. So it was always sort of percolating in the
Mm-hmm.
background, the traditional stuff. And it wasn't what I would have thought I wanted to play until I got bit by the bug,
Mm.
and I sort of fell into this really great group of friends and who were my age group, and then it all became sort of like more relevant to me
Mm-hmm.
at that point.
Like teenage boys, it's really we struggle with who we are.
Oh yeah, man.
Like you just don't know, man. Like I look
You
back
don't.
to my teenage self. I was like, I had no clue who I was. Like no idea. And musicians though seem to have a way to express that, express whatever identity they have at the time.
Or the angst and struggle to
Yeah.
the search for that, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. Like, I think teenage boys especially are they're just searching for something to cling on to. And
Yeah.
so, personally, like, I went through all kinds of different phases. But the music was sort of a constant, and it was an
Yeah.
outlet
Yeah.
to sort of express all that
Yeah.
frustration and trying to figure
Yeah.
all that out.
Yeah. The rest of us don't have that. Like the rest of us have to sort that out in a lot of unhealthy teenage boy ways.
Well, I mean, yeah, I guess sports can be sort
Yeah.
of a way, but like for me, I wasn't much of an athlete growing up
Mhm.
because I was I was a small kid. Like I didn't really hit a growth spurt until, I was probably like 20 when I hit my final growth spurt. I was, so I wasn't really much into sports, but I'm grateful that I had the music. I would go home and just play guitar for hours.
By yourself.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Man,
I was that kid.
music, what's so fascinating about you is like music sounds like it's been there from the beginning, come from a musical family. And but you've picked up along the way, just become a skill, like I was saying earlier, like a skilled artisan with jewelry.
Mhm.
Tell me about how, and man, you've got one of those shops on State Street that is it's so authentic.
Oh, thank you for saying that, man.
Man, and like in today's world, like we're just full of like corporate chain nonsense and
Mm-hmm.
like things that don't have any like stores that don't have any character to them.
Soul, yeah.
Yeah, soul. And I'm so thankful that Bristol's been able to hold on to like those authentic stores. And you're the last jewelry business standing
Mm-hmm.
in town.
Yeah.
And you do such great work.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Like the times that I've exceeded my expectations with my wife have been the 2 times that I brought jewelry home from here.
All right.
You've made something special
Happy to help, man.
for. So thanks for that. Not only 2 times
Absolutely.
I've exceeded her expectations. But man, like the skill of being able to do that. And in today's world, you see so few people that have like real skills that they can monetize. I want to hear like where did that come from? Like, where'd you pick that up?
Ah, man. So my dad was a jeweler. It was his store, and he entered into the jewelry business apprenticeship very early. From my understanding, it was like high school age.
Okay.
Somewhere, 16, 17, he started to work in a shop.
A 16, 17-year-old boy just decides that they want to apprentice as a jeweler?
Right. So it was a family business.
His father. So it's
His uncle,
okay.
yeah,
All right.
William Goodman,
Okay.
had a store in Chilhowie, still there.
Huh.
His son, Mike, runs it now. And back in the 70s, yeah, they were doing a lot of production jewelry in-house, from, wax carving, casting, polishing, finishing, putting it out in the case, the whole nine. I wish he was around so I could ask him, but I would imagine it was probably like a way for him to make a few bucks.
Yeah.
It is,
Mm-hmm.
it was an opportunity to
Mm-hmm.
have a job and earn a little money.
Yeah.
And so he got in there, and he was just turns out he was just super gifted and took off with it.
Huh.
Took the ball and ran,
Yeah.
and got inspired, and really went on to be a skilled artisan, as you say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you were around that your whole life, and did you fight it early on? Did you know you wanted to be in that business?
I got asked that question, growing up. I'd be in the store. Are you going to take this store over one of these days,
Mm-hmm.
young man?
Mm-hmm.
Probably not,
Mm.
And it was never something that was expected of me at all, which, I'm grateful for that. I never had that pressure.
Hmm. So they didn't put that pressure on you to
Never.
continue
Never.
yeah.
I was supported in whatever endeavor I,
Yeah.
wanted to explore.
Yeah.
And I was on a completely different trajectory. Now, I I worked in the store from the time I was 15, 16, just doing whatever, answering the phone, sweeping the floors, turned into changing a watch battery, turned into polishing rings, then became soldering rings. It was sort of like the natural progression there over the years, but I never really saw it as my ultimate
Hmm.
career destination.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. When did you start thinking, I wanna really do this well? I wanna
Well,
learn the craft.
that I started exploring that idea before my dad passed away, while he was still living, and he's like, okay, you want to learn this stuff, huh? So he started sort of feeding me a few little jobs here, and he would show me a trick, or I want you to watch me for a second.
Hmm.
He'd do something, and then he'd put something on my bench. He moved a bench into the store for me, so we have two benches in there now, and he'd say, all right, now, knock yourself out. Let's see what you can do. And so it was more like, he was slowly teaching me and I was apprenticing, but, it wasn't like a really regimented thing.
Yeah, but it was an apprenticeship
It, it,
kind of
it
experience.
was, it was. And then at that time, I was probably in there 2 to 3 days a week.
Yeah.
So I was also, going to school. I was teaching lessons, playing music, doing lots of other things. And so when he passed away, it was like, okay, what are we going to do with the business?
Hmm.
Um, but back to, I had been giving it some thought. Like I wanted to learn, but it was such a slow process. And like, for me, it wasn't moving along quickly enough.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like it was. And, a lot of times I'd show up down there and Dad'd be like, all right, buddy, we'll see you later. I'm going to the lake. And can't blame him for that. But like, I just, I guess I didn't feel like I was really getting to dig in,
Yeah. Wasn't
and
fast enough.
it wasn't fast enough.
And like that's what I'm fascinated with is like our world needs artisans, right? Like people that are really good at something.
Yeah,
But to get really good at something, it's a slow process,
it is.
right? Like you can't learn your craft on YouTube binge watching videos for a weekend.
No,
Like like you really have to learn.
yeah, and you really have to mess some stuff up too.
Oh,
So,
right.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
the thing. Like, trial and error is such a huge part of it. You're gonna make mistakes. Are like it's absolutely 100% part of the process. So, you can't be like making mistakes on other people's stuff.
Mm.
So you have to,
Mm-hmm.
so you have to figure out how to do that.
Hmm. How did you do
Well,
it? Because you're right. Like it's so important. And like that's the other problem we have in the culture is like, how do you get an apprentice role? Right? Like who's going to allow you to learn and mess up on their stuff? Like
right.
there's just not that many opportunities for a kid to learn how to be good at something
It's
in
true.
today's world.
It's true. And the jewelry business, specifically, is fairly like cryptic and sort of like gate kept, historically speaking. It was a very hard business to break into if you didn't have family ties.
Is the barrier to entry the apprentice, the learning how to do it?
Absolutely. You have to find someone who's willing to take you under their wing and allow you those mistakes, because they
Hmm.
have to happen.
Hmm.
They have to. So, you have to find somebody who's got the patience and the grace to deal with that, and the time. Because ultimately, like, you're going to slow them down to a degree at
Sure.
first.
Sure.
So it's an investment, in someone new.
How many years does it take to learn that craft?
I think you never stop.
Yeah.
Man, I mean, it's a good 5 or 6 years of catching stuff on fire
Mm-hmm.
and learning how to hold things the right way, and how to look at things through magnification, and what to look for, and becoming tuned in to these like really minute details, which is, I still am sort of refining that to a degree. I've had some formal training, and I remember a comment that one of my teachers made that stuck with me. And he said, "Man, you got to learn how to live in little land." He's like, you got to get down there in it, and he's like, you're down there, but you got to. He's like, get further in, and I was like, okay. I mean, it's
Yeah.
so it's like you have to retrain your eyes and retrain your hands, and because you're not used to working, on these tiny things.
Yeah. And you really have to commit to that.
Yeah.
You call it little
Little
world,
land.
little land.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, man, you're not living in little land yet.
That's awesome.
It's a Blaine Lewis quote.
It reminds me of like teaching coaches to work with little kids. It's like, you can't do this from a detached space. Like, you have to get down in the dirt with these kids. You have to get down there, and you have to get your hands dirty.
Yeah.
You have to get down there where they are, and you've got to like work.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a clean business,
Yeah.
But it takes a commitment. Like, you got to really want to do something.
Yeah.
And tell me about Little Land. Like, we walk in a jewelry store and want a tennis bracelet for our wife. And we think, and that's all we see.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we pick it out, we talk to you about what it's going to look like, and then you produce it. We don't get to see Little Land. Like, we don't get to see.
You might get a glimpse of it while you're there. I mean, that's part.
Yeah. You can see where you work. Yeah. But I don't really understand all the craft that goes into it. Can you take us into Little Land and tell us, like, what are those little things, those minutia of the craft?
Yeah, I mean, so when typically when I'm working at the bench, I've got this goofy looking headset thing on. It's called an Optivisor, and it's got the magnified lenses in it that are interchangeable. There's different levels of magnification, but most of the time I'm working under 10x magnification. So everything I'm looking at is 10x, and which enables you to really see things that you just can't see with the unaided eye. There's just no way. And I mean, it's very, very tedious.
Do you have to have a certain personality to be able to do tedious?
Man, that's a good question. Maybe so.
Yeah.
I think if you stay, it's changed me a little bit.
Yeah.
And like how it has. I mean, just the process. If you stay the course, I think it will sort of change your personality a little bit, or maybe it appeals to certain personalities.
I'm just fascinated by artisans, because in this world of like instant gratification, this is not it.
Oh, no.
Right? Like,
no way.
Kids are like, I want it now. Like, I'm press this button. I want to press this button and have it now. Like, it's everything's a vending machine.
Yeah.
But this is something like the minutia, going into Little Land, living there, apprenticing there. Like, it just makes me wonder, how many artisans are we going to produce in this culture? Like, not easy, right?
Yeah. No, I agree. It's not easy, but I feel like maybe we're at a point, we're at sort of a tipping point where like we're maybe starting to get back to that, or we're gonna have to, even as just the natural progression, because the technology that's emerging, a lot of jobs that don't require detailed attention and care and artisan's touch are gonna be taken over by computers and AI. So I think it's going to be even more. It's like maybe a weird full circle kind of thing. Like maybe it like inspires a new sort of renaissance of artisans. Hopefully, maybe that's like a bright side of it.
Yeah, man,
Yeah.
I hope so. Because AI, you're going to be the last person that AI takes their
Man, I
takes
hope.
their job, right?
I'm not holding my breath. That stuff's pretty crazy, but
Yeah. Um, yeah, but then a kid's got to find opportunity how to learn,
right.
and they got to be willing to grind and live in Little Land
Yeah.
and like
Yeah.
find somebody to mentor them.
Yeah, but I think too, it's like you mentioned the instant gratification thing. I think it's so true, but like I think once you get a taste of you know, the satisfaction that comes out of that grind and like seeing this a project through and overcoming the obstacles and the failures that are imminent, it's like it's eye-opening. It feels so good
So
to
you still get that. You still get that satisfaction.
absolutely, it's kind of like when you mow the lawn.
Uh
It's like
huh.
it's a simple task, right? But
Yeah.
you finish and you
Yeah.
you stand back and you're just like, yeah, it looks good.
Uh huh.
I mean, I get that.
Yeah.
Every time I finish a job, whether it's a simple like ring sizing or, you get to take pride in it.
Yeah. And
And I'm grateful that I'm in a position where like I have an opportunity to take pride in my work.
it's a cool thing, and to be doing it in a small town, like the people you're making it for.
Yeah,
Like you probably know their
especially.
family, right? Like that's
Yeah,
such a unique kind of skill to be able to make something for people that you actually care about and know.
yeah, and the moments and occasions that those pieces memorialize and stand for,
Mm-hmm.
it's an honor to get to be part of those moments. And most people are, it's happy occasions, and that's something that I've got a lot of gratitude for, is like I get to do something that like makes my customers happy. A lot of
Mm.
a lot of
Yeah.
occupations do not offer that.
Yeah.
You're on the other end,
Yeah.
you're in a more of a socially toxic environment. I've
Yeah.
been there,
Yeah. And I think a lot of professions that once provided that or provide less of it. Like you take a physician, like a physician would have said the same thing 30 years
Mm,
ago. Like this is really rewarding. I make connections. I know my patients. I care about them. In today's world, I hear physicians saying insurance only lets me spend 7.5 minutes with
uh,
every patient, right? So it's like efficiency. Efficiency is stealing. It's like it's stealing those important things from us,
yeah,
you know? And like you don't have that. Like that's why I think a lot of people look at your life and think, "Man, it's a really cool thing." It's like efficiency is not you're not chasing efficiency, right? You're chasing a quality.
right. Oh yeah. I mean, there are way more efficient ways to make something shiny.
Right.
you
Yeah.
know? Yeah, that's a good point, man.
Yeah. But the malls are full of jewelry stores that their model is efficiency,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And so when you go like the reason it was important for me when I went to get the jewelry is to get it from you is one of the reasons is because man, I don't know jewelry. Like I could get sold coal and I wouldn't like I wouldn't know. And I trusted you and like it's gonna be quality. That's an art, right? Like so when you go into Little Land, it starts with the material, the rock. Take me through like what do people not know about that? And
Man.
that understanding of the material, like you can tell a fraud right away.
Yeah. Well, a lot of it's just experience and seat time, or just having this stuff in your hands and looking at it for years and feeling it, and you develop a sense of quality and what quality really is. It's funny, man, because it's very common. Almost daily, I have folks who will come in to see me and they're like, "Can you tell me, is this real?" Usually pretty quickly I can give a yes or a no to that. Like, and sometimes people are kind of taken aback at how quickly I can spot of something that's fake or a simulant, or or whether it's a watch or a stone, the first question is always, well, how can you tell? And that's a tough question. It's not a simple answer. It's like, well, I can tell based on like several factors that, you know, I can see, like, the weight of something, the way it shines. And these are things like it's hard to describe,
And
but
here,
it's
this
just
is
something that
little. This
you
is
can just,
little land too. Like you're talking about little, judging such
yeah.
small objects, but you can
And
just,
it's not always that
yeah,
easy. I gotta say, I'll
yeah,
say that. Like, it's not
yeah.
always that simple, but oftentimes it is. It's like, yeah, no, that's not real. Or yeah,
Is the
that's
fake stuff
genuine
getting better? Is it harder to tell?
on certain fronts.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, on certain fronts.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, so I really want to know about those conversations. So is it usually the female that comes in wanting to know if it's real?
Oh man. You know, I haven't found myself in that position too many times,
No,
thankfully.
not many awkward conversations.
No, not really. It's usually like, "Hey, I found this,"
Oh,
or
okay.
or "My grandmother passed away, and we found this in a drawer, and can
Right.
you tell me what it is?"
Oh,
sort of thing.
gotcha.
But yeah, I know. That may have happened once or twice, but not
Yeah.
very often, thankfully.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, take me back to Little Land. So you got your 10x, got the 10x magnifiers. You've got this project. So somebody is your typical project, kind of like me, where I've got this idea of what I want, and you try to bring it, to life.
Yeah, I mean, people will come in and, whether it's an engagement ring, or maybe it's jewelry that they inherited that needs to be restored, or that they would like to repurpose the stones from
Mm.
a relative's ring into something more modern that
Hmm.
suits their style. It's all across the board, man. And it's just really, I think the initial like first step is to listen and figure out like what they really are after. And sometimes it's, it's a it becomes a process of helping them realize what it is exactly that
Hmm.
they're after. Maybe they don't know exactly what they
Hmm.
want. They've got some sort of idea or ideas.
Yeah.
And so it's like, this process, and part of that is like, well, what is this person's personality? There's all these
Mm-hmm.
factors that can influence like where it goes.
Yeah. You must hear some great stories,
Oh yeah.
like family legacy kind of stories.
Yeah. Yeah, there's been
Yeah.
some good ones.
I bet. So you take that idea and then you go to work.
Yeah, and so this day and age, a lot of folks have done some research before they come to see me, and they have ideas. They've seen things online. They have pictures of things they've seen that they like, and so that's a fairly common scenario. Occasionally, we still put pen to paper. We'll sketch something out, and it just starts maybe with like a crude drawing,
Yeah.
and then once we get maybe a little better understanding of where we're going, we can take that, turn it into a CAD rendering, which is a
Hmm.
3D computer model of the idea, which can then be tweaked to and edited to the customer's liking. And then, sometimes it's not even that complicated. Sometimes it's like, I want to take the stones out of this and make a ring. I want to take the stones out of this pendant and make a ring. And okay, well, I can just order a pre-made stock 5 stone mounting for these 5 round diamonds and
Mm.
set them in it. So, some projects are more complicated than others.
Yeah.
But I think the crux of it is like really trying to figure out like what it is they're after.
The story. The story
Yeah,
there. It's almost like jewelry is telling a story.
sure.
It's
Yeah.
just so intimate to someone. And the stuff that's really valuable to people is the ones that has a story to it, right? Like,
Yeah, and I mean that's it. This stuff really matters to people, so it's like a huge honor
hmm,
to get to have, be entrusted with this stuff and for someone to leave something with me that they otherwise like never take off of their body. It's
mm-hmm,
like I never take this necklace off or I wear it, I've
mm-hmm.
worn this ring for the last 25 years. I've only taken it off for cleaning and I'm going to leave it with you to repair it. Like that, it means the world to me that people would entrust me with their precious items like
Yeah,
that.
yeah. So a day in the life, like you got a really cool shop. So people are constantly coming in and out
Yeah, State
looking.
Street's a dynamic spot.
Yeah, and you probably hear stories every day, and then you're also working at the same time, right? So you're doing it all.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I definitely wear a few hats down there. It's a small space. And I do sort of have that when I get behind and have a certain amount of work to do, I have to make time for bench stuff because I never really know from one day to the next how much time I'm going to get to actually
Yeah,
sit down
right.
and focus on working at the bench without an interruption of some kind. So I have like my dedicated time down there where I just lock the door and work.
Hmm.
But I'm also like, I can you try to sense it. It's like, oh, it's
Yeah.
kind of quiet today. I might sit down and try to work on a project.
Yeah.
But then there's some days you just know better. Like I'm not getting into that today. It's too crazy in
Yeah.
here.
Tell me about the business. Like, there's the difficulties in terms of just becoming a skilled artisan, the apprenticeship, the years it takes to learn, the mistakes that you make along the way. That's a huge it's a huge barrier to entry. But then you've got to monetize that skill. How difficult is that? How difficult is that in 2025? Because there's not many jewelers around.
It's it's tough. Material costs is you know is a a growing concern. With I'm sure you've
Yeah.
noticed the gold market. I mean, we're encroaching on $3,000 per ounce. So, to be able to do these repairs and these projects and keep things, um, you know, attainable for people, and still be able to make some money and make a living. Like it can be a balancing act. It is. Um, but you just you figure out how to do it and you just keep showing up.
Keep showing up and doing your thing
Yeah,
in Little Land, right?
yeah, man.
You do that during the day, but that's only half of your life. The other half is music. I'm sure there's more to it than that, but so you're playing multiple times a week, playing.
Man, it varies. So like it ebbs and flows
Uh huh.
as I say, but you know, it's fortunately, I've been able to make time to continue to play music and pursue some really cool opportunities that have come up and presented themselves and yeah, I mean it kind of helps keep me balanced,
Yeah.
you know, to still have that outlet that's I'm maybe not as reliant on for income and livelihood. It's more of just a creative outlet
Yeah.
primarily. It's a healthy
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. You do all this your life is against the backdrop of small town America, Main Street. In Bristol, it's State Street. So that's where you're doing your thing. That's where you're doing your music. That's where that's where your shop is. How do you think State Street has changed over the years? Because
Wow. Yeah, it's changed a lot.
You've had a front row seat to that.
Oh yeah. I'm so excited about the progress that's being made downtown and has been made over the last decade, and going back further than that. But I mean, I remember as a kid, it was kind of a ghost town down there for a bit.
No reason to go down there, was it?
Yeah.
Unless you wanted antiques.
There wasn't anything going on down there.
Yeah.
And not so much the case now. I mean, at all. It's we got a vibrant downtown business community. The birthplace of country music museum. I think having that there as an anchor for our cultural identity is so huge, man. I mean, that was a major milestone.
Yeah.
For our city.
Yeah, I don't think people give that museum enough credit. It's a really big deal.
It's huge.
I've had Leah Ross on here, who runs Rhythm and Roots, and she said that the thing that she's most proud of is not Rhythm and Roots, but it's being a part of getting that museum off the ground.
Yeah.
So it's drawing people from outside, I guess, which is bringing people.
And we're giving them somewhere to go. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's still, business is still tough down. Like, it's still tough to make a business downtown. What would you, like, we've both seen a lot of changes, a lot of progress. What would you like to, like, when you look at State Street 3 years from now, 5 years from now, like, what do you get excited? What things would make you excited?
I mean, the first thing that comes to mind, and I, obviously being a musician, more performance venues downtown would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, and as a business owner, there are a lot of tourists that are coming to town, and just through conversation, I get asked all the time, where can we go and listen to bluegrass or country or hillbilly music? Or where can we get a taste of this? Bristol's the birthplace of country music, right? Well, where do we go? And sometimes that can be a difficult thing to point people towards. And I think partly it has to do with just the nature of what traditional music is. It's like people hanging out on a porch oftentimes and playing in their homes, or like after work. It's just like blue collar folks getting together and playing for the fun of it. So it's hard to put people onto that. Right?
Yeah. It's not a scheduled show. It's just.
Yeah. But that being said, there are musicians in the area that are, would like to have more performance opportunities, I think, downtown.
It's tough business as a venue, like live.
Very
providing
tough.
a space for live music is tough. We've done a bit of that.
I can't imagine.
But I wonder how much of that is like this instant gratification that people have, because you're competing against Spotify, right?
Yeah.
People press a
it's
button.
Getting tougher to get people to come out and pay to see live music, or just to come out.
But it's not a good thing. Like, it seems like going back to the artisan piece of culture, that we build things and build them really well and have a sense of pride, about this product that we're making. It takes such a commitment. And it seems like so many parts of our culture is taking the most efficient, fast, low quality option.
Yeah, efficiency over quality, for sure. Efficiency, I think on the surface, it sounds like a really good word, but it has some some negative attributes too. Yeah,
especially for the things that you do, music and the jewelry. But I think it's a part of a culture. And it's like, how do we preserve that? Is I think one of the big challenges of especially small towns.
Yeah.
Because you got to pay for that, right? Like,
That's
you can't have that for cheap.
That's it. Yeah, who's paying the bill?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it is a struggle. I mean, and I don't know the ins and outs at all of running a music venue, but I, you know, I know there's
Mm,
a lot of unseen costs involved, like
mm,
licensing costs. So you have a
yeah.
stage
Yeah. Yeah. We've
at
got
the
a stage
Sportsplex,
over there. Yeah.
right? So you
Yeah.
got tuned in on all. I mean, it's crazy. It's very
Yeah.
expensive to
Mm-hmm.
just to have live music,
Yeah.
to pay the what is it? Is it BMI and
Yeah.
ASCAP or
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a whole layer of expense and complexity that people don't understand. It makes it really difficult.
So yeah, man. If there was I mean, do you feel like if there was a way to get some aid in that, would you think that would entice more people to try to maybe have live music?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe. It's just it's risky. It's risky. Every time you do live music, you don't know.
No,
Like you don't know if people are going to show up or
right?
not. If they do, it's great. If they don't,
Especially if you're offering if you're if you've got a guaranteed payout for your artist,
yeah,
you got to recoup that somehow.
yeah, yeah. And they obviously
Absolutely.
they deserve to get paid. So
Yep.
it's a really tough business, and I see less and less stages out in places.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got some good venues in Bristol. We're blessed, but it's getting to be a tougher business.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if there's not more opportunities for just informal music, because you go downtown in the summers,
Absolutely.
and it's been really cool the past few years, because you go downtown and you walk down State Street on a Friday night, and you do hear music at different places.
I like that idea. The informal. And there, I remember when I was, in high school for sure, and maybe just out of high school, there was a regular jam that happened down at the mural, and it was well attended.
Hmm.
Maybe not every week, but like I want to say it was like a Thursday night thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and folks would just show up with their instruments and group up, pair off, do the form their own little groups and jam and socialize, and there'd be a lot of people just spectating, hanging out, and that's one I remember. There was another one of those that was at the gas station there on 394 down from the Speedway in the cafe.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever go to that?
Mm-mm. I knew about it.
I mean,
But
it
I
was
didn't go.
great.
Yeah.
And of course, it being indoors, it was like a
Just
good little winter
yeah.
hideout too. And you
Right.
never knew who was gonna. I mean, people would come
Just
from pretty far away sometimes to jam and pick. And I don't know, man. I think that old pandemic, it hurt those types of gatherings. It's like those types of gatherings never fully recovered.
so it just took the momentum out of the things that were here.
Maybe, yeah,
And then it's just haven't gotten it back.
yeah.
It's so hard to get stuff. It's so hard to get habits and
Yeah.
rituals back in place. But man, music is such an important. Obviously, it's the birthplace of country music. Like
Yeah, man.
it's an important part of our culture. And there's such good music around here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And you're in a lot of those bands that are so good, man. Like it's impressive. It's impressive stuff. I had an English professor in freshman English, and Craig McDonald, and he talked about one of the themes that he always talked about as a life well lived.
Hmm.
And when I look at what you're doing, like it's cool to see, because it seems like a life well lived.
Oh man, thank you.
What do you want to
Appreciate that.
like when you look? You're a young guy. When you look to the future, what do you want to add to that?
I mean, I think giving back is like that's becoming like more and more present in my mind. Like figuring out ways to give back to the community and foster young musicians' growth. Maybe eventually a jewelry apprentice. But yeah, I think giving back that's terms of what I'd like to accomplish moving forward, that's where my attention's going.
Well, you said that kind of flippantly about a jewelry apprentice, but when I think about it, like you're the last of a breed in Bristol, right? Like,
yeah, all of a sudden,
when you're gone, like, who comes next?
I don't know. We're gonna have to figure that out, Matt.
That's a long-term problem to solve, right?
Yeah.
But it is, man, and it says something about the work that you do. And if it was easy, if it was painless, if you could learn it with the press of a button, like there'd be a lot more of you.
Yeah, maybe so. But I gotta say too, I've just been really blessed to be surrounded by talented people all my life, man. I mean, it's like most important figure being my dad, but the company that he kept was always really good too.
Yeah, that village.
Yeah.
You can't substitute for that. It is. I think that's probably one of the blessings of living in a small town.
Yeah, man.
Is that your village is maybe a little bit wider and deeper.
Yeah.
Than some of my friends who have moved to the city, and the roots just aren't there.
Isn't that true? Like, and it's almost counterintuitive, right? Because like you're living in the city with 9 million people or whatever.
Yeah, it's not.
But
math,
you actually
though.
become maybe more isolated in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
And in terms of your sense of community, yeah, it's weird.
Yeah,
in a way,
the roots aren't there, and it's so easy to leave. Like people will go to Charlotte or Atlanta or wherever, and they'll enjoy it, and then get tired and they'll just leave.
Yeah,
I don't feel like I can do that here.
Yeah,
like I have roots here. Like it's not that easy.
Sure.
So, yeah. Well, man, like it's really like the contributions you made to Bristol, like just the quality and the artisanship on all different fronts of your life. Like you're making a difference, and we're really glad you're here. You have this experience,
So
artist in residence.
Yeah, a little over a year ago, I had this amazing opportunity to travel out to Boise, Idaho, and be an artist in residence with my bandmates Dave Edgar and Phil Ficanti at Idaho Fine Arts Academy. And it was such an inspiring, eye-opening experience. It was such a progressive, forward-thinking school. I left there like, man, I want this for my kids. I mean, every piece of it, honestly, from the way that the building was constructed to the structure of the students' daily routine. I mean, having artists in residence, like just what these kids were having the opportunity to be exposed to, and just the culture that was so apparent, and how happy they were to be there, and how engaged they were with each other, with the faculty. It was just like the most positive high school environment I had ever witnessed. And I'm like, man, I would do just about anything to make this possible for my kids. Like, how could, you know?
So what is that like? What could that look like in a small town like Bristol? How do you capture some of that magic so kids don't have to move to Boise?
I don't know, man, but I gotta say, I mean, I think we've got a pretty good story and culture to lead with, to form some. I mean, we have such a strong, just naturally, we have this musical culture here. And I'm not really sure what the history of the Boise area is. I mean, there very well could be musical history and culture there, but
they weren't the birthplace of country music.
It's not the birthplace of country music. And so it really got me thinking, like, man, what would this look like in Bristol? And I mean, I could see some version of that here that would be maybe a little more attuned to mountain culture and music. I don't know, but it was such a beautiful experience.
A kid picks up, like, a kid's got that musical gene that you had, and they pick up a guitar, but they don't live in like, you had the advantage of a musical family, so you had this musical village that you could grow up in. Kid grows up, they have this musical gene, but what do they like? The community's important, right?
Hmm.
Like, kids don't want to just make music by themselves. They want to do it in a space with other kids and artists in residence.
Right.
And so it's got to be lonely for a lot of musical kids that they don't have that village around.
Absolutely. I mean, if you outside of like concert band or maybe jazz bands, a little,
Mm,
you know, stretches a little more. But if you're, if you're not involved in maybe one of those activities, but you have this musical aptitude, you're you're lost.
yeah,
There's not a whole lot of outlets and avenues for you as a kid, especially.
yeah,
You know, I mean, I think there are probably now that I think of it, online. A lot of them probably resort to like finding people to relate to
yeah,
online
yeah.
instead of in person, which, is its
Yeah, that
own
could be the place of all,
yeah, it's
right?
its own problem, right? Yeah.
Yeah. What would that space look like in Bristol? How do you create that?
I mean, this is getting out there on a limb, but I mean, you brought up the LC King building, and I mean, I think there's a lot of potential there. Sounds like there's some really great ideas
Yeah.
that are being talked about and explored for that space, but I mean, maybe even that. I mean, what would be cooler than having a performing arts school that was
Mm,
situated downtown, 2 blocks or a block away from the birthplace of country music
yeah.
museum?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't
Like,
know.
our new city manager, Kelly Bourgeois, was on here a few weeks ago, and they're looking at making that a maker space.
I love that idea.
But it would take a big investment, and I think it would take a big financial commitment from
Yeah.
the city. But her argument is that cities like Bristol either have to keep their kids here, um, or they have to recruit other people's kids.
Mhm.
So we've got to be intentional about creating assets in this town that keep our kids here when they grow
Right.
up.
And I think something like a performing arts school would do both.
Yeah,
Because it is audition based what they do.
yeah,
So, they don't just accept everyone. You have to audition, you have to be accepted in. So there's that, you have some skin in the game, which
yeah,
I'm sure is has something to do
yeah,
with the positive culture there. It's like
yeah.
kids are just happy to be there, man.
Well, they're in their
They're
element,
in their
right?
element. Yeah.
Like, my kids
And they
love.
feel seen and
Yeah,
their individuality and their own creativity is being
yeah.
fostered.
And when you've got a talent and there's nobody else around with that talent, that passion, you feel like an alien
Yeah.
sometimes. And
Yeah.
like,
Yep.
it's
Yep. And that alienation can manifest in all sorts of
oh my
ways.
gosh, destructive ways. Is that why musicians are so
I don't know, man.
self-destructive? Yeah, it could be.
Could
Like,
be.
having your tribe, man, there's nothing like it. You've got an interest, you've got a passion. Middle schooler, for example. You're the
Yeah, it's
only
such a
one.
volatile period. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, having other kids with that same passion is like being home.
Yeah. And I saw that and I was like, wow, it spoke to my,
Yeah.
inner middle schooler.
Uh,
Man, this is nice. This is really cool.
huh. Were these Boise? So were these Boise kids, or were they coming there from different places?
Oh, they're from all over the country.
Ah, so
I
they're
heard
there for
stories.
that.
Oh yeah, man. There are families who just straight up relocate just so their kids can go there. People will come to Boise and get a hotel room for the audition process, and if their kid makes it, they make the life changing decision to uproot and move there. I mean, that's so talk about a draw. I
So you
mean,
were, I mean, this place really had an influence on you because you're
majorly.
clearly really impressed with what they're doing. Was it personality driven?
I
Or
would say largely yes.
like a big personality just happened to start this in Boise?
Yes,
Because this doesn't happen
I
in
think
Boise
so.
just
I think
naturally.
so. The principal of the school, his name's Christian Housel, and he is like one of the most charismatic,
Yeah.
talented, positive people you'd ever want to meet, and he had a lot to do with it coming to fruition.
So you needed to be around people who were skilled in their craft.
Mm-hmm.
Same's true for a musician, right?
Sure.
So how much of that environment was about bringing artists like yourself into that space and surrounding these kids with mentors? Like how important was that to the model?
Very, I think. Very
Yeah.
important. In fact, they were just awarded with some national honor where I think Dave Egger was in attendance with the principal, Christian Housel, at the Kennedy Center in D.C. to accept this award
Huh.
to IFA, and it was largely to do with their artist in residence program.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's a huge piece of it.
Yeah.
And what I noticed too is like when the students show up at 6:45 or 7 a.m. In the morning, they go straight to whatever their discipline is, their art. They do art first.
Mm.
I thought that I was like, that's smart, man. Like let them wake up with what, because you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
that's going to get the juices flowing. If you're there to dance and you show up in the morning and you dance, then the rest of the day is going to be pretty easy after that, right?
Don't kill the vibe with algebra class
Exactly.
at 7:00 in the morning.
100%.
Yeah. Well, what do you like? Can you if you envision is like Bristol's position for this, right? Like this is our culture. We got to nurture the next generation of musicians. Like, is
Very
the hard?
important.
Would you think the hardest part is the space or the getting the community of people there to contribute?
I think people would be so willing to contribute. I think that's the easy part. I think, the red tape of, I know nothing about what it takes to found an educational institution.
And it doesn't necessarily have to be a full-blown school, right? It could
Sure.
be,
No.
it could supplement the schools that we have.
Absolutely. I think that'd be a great place to start even.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, probably the space, like where do you do it? And all this stuff costs money. So like how do you fund this stuff? Those are questions
Yeah.
I don't know how to answer, but I do think that the community piece and the people being willing to contribute and be part of it, I think people would just show up overwhelmingly for that. Would be that would be my guess anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool. One of the things I've found doing these things though is had a lot of people doing extraordinary things in the small town. How in the world did you build this in Bristol? But when somebody has a good idea, a big idea, It's a common theme. Like the money
Mm.
isn't as big, isn't the problem. Like
Really?
yeah. Like it's so many conversations with people that had big ideas and no money, and like the resources
Show up.
show up if the idea is there. Yeah.
But it's the
Yeah.
implementation.
Everything's gotta have a champion. And if there's anything I've learned,
Right.
it's like
No, you're right.
things don't get done by committee.
You're right.
Like nothing ever gets accomplished in a
Yeah.
committee.
You got to have somebody spearheading.
Yeah, it's gotta be somebody
Yeah,
that
and I
really
met, I
believes
mean,
in it.
that guy for IFA is Christian Housel, and I mean, yeah, I mean, Christian, if you're listening, man, we could use you now. Yeah, no, I see your point for sure.